Hello, Scream Demons, and welcome to the Screens from the Basement podcast with Sam and Casey.
This is a bi-weekly horror podcast in which two horror fans discuss all things horror, including news, recent watches, horror collectibles, and more.
I am one of your co-hosts, Casey.
And I'm Sam. And
And
let's
let's get
get screaming.
screaming. Sam, we're back with another episode. A Scooby-Doo filled episode. We should get that out right away. We need to make sure we talk about the movies. We're actually going to be talking about the title of the episode. It's a Scooby-Doo filled episode. We've been covering Velma, I think, since the second episode is when we started.
Yeah, second episode, I think.
Yeah, so we've been covering that entire series, and we thought since that at least the first season is coming to an end, why not talk Doo for 2 hours?
Yeah. I mean, it's our fourth episode, and we're already doing our first full-fledged Scooby-Doo episode. I'm sure there's going to be more because I already have a couple of Scooby-Doo double features that I would like to
I was just going to say, this
knock
is the
out
first
later.
of probably a couple Scooby-Doo episodes we'll be doing on this.
I mean, at one point, Screams was just going to be called Doo Heads, and it was just going to be Scooby-Doo anyways.
Yeah.
So, be prepared for quite a bit of Scooby-Doo.
We're just going to be sprinkling the Doo from every once in a while, just dropping some Doo in this show.
Yeah. Drop some Doo. That's what we're doing. We're dropping a big steaming pile of Doo on you.
We're dropping maybe the biggest one you can, because we are talking about Scooby-Doo, the first live action movie from 2002, and fan favorites. Many consider the pinnacle of Scooby-Doo movies. Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, 1998. We're coming out heavy hitters right away talking about Scooby-Doo, I think.
Yeah, I mean, spoiler alert, both of these movies are 5-star bangers in my eyes. So
classics.
I'm pretty stoked to talk these two. I even watched a little bit of other Scooby-Doo stuff in the mix. And I know you watched stuff that kind of pertained to our last week's episode.
I did.
We both watched a new movie that also pertained to last week's episode.
Yeah, I think a lot of this kind of comes together, which is kind of nice that we're talking Scooby-Doo, because something in the news, at least two things in the news, I think pertain to Scooby-Doo-isms. Our doobie doing, I think we have some in there too, and then of course the main topic. So, Sam, should we get into our seller news? Because we have some exciting things to talk about in this one.
Oh yeah, seller news, man.
All right. First up, we got James Wan's Atomic Monster production company. They're teaming up with A24 to produce a feature-length The Backrooms movie. So if you don't know what The Backrooms found footage is, it is this YouTube sensation, I will say, that came out I think 2021 is when this came out, right around pandemic time. And this is a movie made by a high schooler that is all about liminal space. And for me, like, when I think of liminal space movies, that's the first thing that comes to mind. Is The Backroom is basically this character falls into almost another dimension, and this other dimension is, it's not Star Wars, it's not Star Trek, it's just this building with these tannish gray walls, and you can't find your way out of this almost office space. That's almost what it looks like. So yeah, this is, I don't know, have you watched The Backrooms found footage or any, like, I know there's video games on it now, there's creepypastas, there's all that going on with it.
So I feel like, I don't think I've ever watched it, but like I definitely was aware of it, I knew what it was. I'd never gone out and watched it. I'm kind of excited to now, just because if it's catching James Wan's attention, he's throwing money at it.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, you've sung its praises. I think actually that might be where I kind of first I feel like you've talked to me about this before.
Probably.
Um, but yeah, I the thing that I really take away from this is, like, this is like a 17-year-old kid
Mhm. Who's
who
making it
James
on
Wan is
his
like
break from school. That's
yeah,
insane. That's insane.
yeah. It's really cool. Like, I just I don't know. I think there's such a vitality and, like, an earnestness to art that's made by extremely young people.
Mhm.
And I don't know, a 17-year-old getting James Wan producing a horror movie, like, I just can't even imagine what that's gonna be. And I'm really excited to see what it turns out. You know, like liminal space movies, the most recent example of this being Skinamarink. I wasn't a huge fan of that. But that being said, it was an experience. It was one I was glad I saw in the theater. And I'm kind of excited to see this one in a theater.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah. I
yeah.
think this is cool. Internet horror kind of finally entering the mainstream because it's been around for so long, and I think we've had
Oh yeah.
big Hollywood attempts at it, like the Slender Man movie, which just
Hmm.
didn't work. No one saw it. No one cared. So I think this is the right mixture to finally bring these to the big screen.
Yeah.
So.
Because it feels different a little bit than like if it feels different than when like Mama or Lights Out were picked up from those shorts
Hmm.
because I feel like those were short films that weren't necessarily meant for the internet. They were just short films.
Yeah.
Whereas while I haven't seen The Backrooms, it's very much ingrained in like internet culture,
Yes.
which is something that I think more horror movies need to take advantage of.
Hmm. And then you have other things like, I'm sorry, I know a lot of people like this movie, Unfriended Dark Web, that just completely
Yeah,
did not understand what the dark web is. So I think
yeah.
we're moving in the right direction here. First cat cameo of the show right here.
First cat cameo of the show. Say hello, Boris.
Boris has made an appearance. Boris, hopefully he'll be excited about this news. I don't think Sam is, but we'll see. This news is that coming off the legacy sequels of Scream and Halloween, I Know What You Did Last Summer is having a legacy sequel, which is in the early stages right now with Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. in talks to return. Sam, Fred Jones, live action Fred Jones, he's back. What do you think
Yeah,
of this?
I'm actually pretty stoked. You and I disagree on the original movie. It's not my favorite. You really like it, but I like legacy sequels. I just do. You know, the Halloween legacy sequel was good. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre legacy sequel was good. I even kind of like the Hellraiser legacy sequel, even though Hellraiser's just not my franchise. Um, so yeah, I'm down for this. And Freddie Prinze Jr. needs to be in more horror in
Yeah.
general. Like I just anything he does in the horror realm, I'm gonna be there for. So I'm kind of stoked. I saw a tweet after this was announced that said something along the lines of if they're gonna retcon I'll always know what you did last summer, they should literally just retcon the entire movie after like the entire first movie after the first act and set it 20 years later and just bring back all four of them and just do it like it's a 20 years later
Yeah.
story. And I was like, actually, I'd almost be more interested in that than whatever they've got planned with just Freddie Prinze and Jennifer Love Hewitt. I don't know.
Mhm. Hey,
But yeah, you're huh?
I was gonna say you can even bring back if you retcon the second one, you can bring back Jack Black as the
Yeah.
the the hippie stoner dude. He can come back
Yep.
in this legacy sequel. I'm tentatively excited for this. Um,
Hmm.
I'm interested to see what they're gonna do with this because I've seen the first two. I know there's is it I'll always know what you did last summer, I think is the
Yeah, it was like a
third one that
TV movie or something.
that yeah, none of the original cast is in. Um I've never seen
Did
that.
you watch the Amazon series?
No, I've heard it's good. I've heard good
Um,
things.
oh, it's trashy. Like
Oh yeah.
it's Pretty Little Liars type television with a gory slasher bent. It's garbage, but I love it.
I'm there for it.
I was really sad when they canceled it after one season because the finale is wild and it sets up a season two that I'm like, this is gonna be crazy. And then they canceled it. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. But I don't know. I
Hey, maybe
digress.
we'll get those ideas in this one then. I don't know.
That would be cool.
I yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. Let's bring back I Know What You Did Last Summer. Let's bring back Urban Legend. Let's get a sequel to Valentine.
Yeah.
Let's do all of them.
Valentine Supremacy.
All those 80s, or not 80s, excuse me, like late 90s, early 2000s slasher movies. Let's bring them all back.
Let's bring back Urban Legend.
Yeah. Wasn't there isn't I think Eli Ross working on a TV show.
Oh yeah, he is. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I think it's like an
Yeah.
anthology urban
Yeah.
legend thing.
Which that's still cool. That's still cool.
But the movie that I Know What You Did Last Summer was heavily inspired, and pretty much the only reason those movies exist was because of Scream. And no, we don't really have Scream news. We're not going to reveal who the killer is because the internet has. We're instead just going to
Yeah.
guess who the
Six.
killer is. Sam, do you want to set up why we're going to do a little Scream 6 killer prediction here on this episode
Yeah.
before the movie comes out? Why? Why the heck are we doing this?
Well, I mean, for fun mostly.
Yeah.
But also because I don't know, we thought it would be fun to have a bet. Have a little like pool or something. And yeah, we're gonna predict who we think the Scream Six killers are.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we haven't set up like super solid rules, but essentially whoever's right gets to choose a movie for whoever's wrong to
Yes.
watch. And then we have to talk about it on the episode after we watch, Scream Six.
Yeah.
Um,
So when the movie
and
comes
if
out,
neither of us get it right, we've got a list of movies that are terrible that neither of us want to
yeah, I
watch.
think I wrote it down that we talked about these two movies to talk about. So the idea is we're each going to pick. I have two. I think you said you have two as well that you're going to guess for the killers.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Whoever gets, I would say at least one, unless we have a crossover. Then I think we need a tiebreaker. But
Yeah. Yeah, we do need a tiebreaker.
I think
What if
maybe
it
opening
what if
kill.
it's
Opening kill is the tiebreaker. How about that?
Oh yeah, that would be good. That would be
Okay.
good. Opening kill. Let's do that.
Whoever wins gets to pick the topic for the week, or excuse me, the episode after we talk about Scream 6. So we'll do a full spoiler episode on Scream 6 when that comes out. We have another movie to pair with that. But then the winner gets to pick the topic for the next episode. Or if we both lose, I think we talked about watching. God, why did we do this? We're gonna watch The Gallows. One of
Yeah,
my
that's right. It's the Gallows double
my
feature, isn't it?
one of my least favorite movies I have ever seen. The Gallows 1 and 2. I've never seen the second one. I hope to God one of us just gets this right.
I haven't seen either of them, but
There's
I've never heard a single good thing
yeah.
about them. I don't like found footage movies. Like they always have an extra step to climb to
Hmm.
get me on their side. And if it's
This
a
isn't one
bad
that's gonna
found
get on your
footage
side.
movie,
Yeah.
like I will hate it.
All right, Sam. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first on our predictions?
um, I can go first.
Okay.
So originally I was just gonna guess that it was actor Matthew Lillard and Jesus teaming up because they were upset that Stu
Actual
Macher
Jesus.
wasn't the killer in 5.
Actual
Yeah,
Jesus, correct? Okay.
actual Jesus, yeah.
Okay.
Because I mean, Jesus is obviously a Stu Macher fan, right?
Who isn't?
Who isn't? Yeah.
Yeah.
But my actual Scream 6 killer prediction, and this is going to be wild, but here's the thing.
Okay.
I think it's going to be Tony Revolori because
Okay.
you don't cast him and not make him. I don't know. I just hope he's going to be
Okay.
the killer. I could see him doing really well. This is mostly just what I'm hoping for.
Okay.
And the other killer, first of all, I think this is going to be a cult and there's going to be a lot of faces,
I think both of
maybe like
us.
background faces. Yeah,
Yep.
we've kind of talked about this, and I think it's going to be like a group of ghost faces, but like the people that are leading them,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say it's Tony Revolori and Hayden Panettiere as Kirby Reed.
Whoa.
I think she's going to be a ghost face this
Big
time around.
prediction. Okay.
I think she's
Okay.
going to be a ghost face. Yep.
Okay. Before we get to our tiebreaker, I'll say my predictions for the Scream 6 killers. I
Okay.
also have Tony Ravioli.
Ravioli. Yeah. Reveroli.
Reveroli, yeah.
I always say it wrong.
It's
I
ravioli.
love him though. He's
I do
so
too.
good.
He's great. He plays Jason. I think that might be a hint at something. I don't know.
Jason Carvey. Like
Yeah.
seriously, come on.
I and yeah, you don't cast him in this to be a good guy.
No.
My other one is one of the older members of the cast, Dermot Mulroney. I think he plays
Oh.
Detective Bailey. I think he's going to be one of the again, like you, I think there's going to be a cult of ghost faces. I
Yeah.
think he's going to be part of that. Maybe related to a previous ghost face. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe he's the dad of Timothy Oliphant. I don't know. Who knows? He's related to him. That's my
Oh.
prediction. He's related to Timothy Oliphant or his
Oh,
brother
that
or
would be
something. Maybe
cool.
his
I
brother. I
didn't
think
know.
that the ages
Yeah.
might be close
Yeah.
enough for that. So that's my prediction for that. What's
Yeah,
your
because they do. They've got a little bit of a facial
they
similarity,
do.
don't they? Yeah.
My guess. That's
Ugh.
my guess. Who do you think is opening kill then for our tiebreaker in case um we're both wrong on the killers?
Here's the thing. I haven't watched a lot of trailer. I watched the teaser that had the subway and then that first thing. I haven't
Yeah,
watched like
that's
the
all I've
big
watched
game
too.
spot. I haven't watched any of that stuff. And I only watched the trailer, like the full trailer once, and I was like, or maybe a couple times the day it was released, but I was like, no. After that, I'm not gonna watch it unless I see it in the theater. So I have no idea if she shows up in different shots of the trailer, but I think it's gonna be Samara Weaving.
We're not gonna win on this. That was my prediction too.
That was your prediction too?
I
How
might
about we
change
do
it then.
this? How about we
What?
do this for a tiebreaker? Number of kills.
Oh my gosh. I we
And
better write
whoever's
this.
closer.
We better write
Closer.
this down then. Okay.
Yeah, I'll write it down. I'll write it
Okay.
down. Okay, so we got killer predictions. Casey, and then me. Okay, my killer predictions were
Okay. How many are you
Kirby
guessing?
Reed and Tony. Casey, you said
Tony
Dermot
and
and
Dermot.
Tony.
Yep.
Okay, and then I'm gonna say I'm gonna do 17. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna have a
17.
seven.
Holy
Yeah,
cow.
I think we're gonna
Okay.
get some. think we're gonna get some mass carnage in this movie. I think
Okay.
I'm gonna go with 17 on-screen kills.
Wow. Okay. I'm not. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna go 9.
Okay. Hey, that's good though. We have very different answers,
Yeah.
which means one of us will obviously be closer.
Yeah. 9.
Unless is there a unless
If
there's 13
if
kills.
there's
If
13
there's
kills,
13
I
kills,
think
we're just watching the gallows.
I guess we're doing that. Okay? We're doing that. That's fine. That's
If
fine.
there's 13 kills, we're just screwed.
Yep. Cool. I think we got some cool predictions there.
I think so too. I think so too.
All right.
My Kirby, can I elaborate on Kirby?
Sure.
She's okay, so hear me out. In
Okay.
Scream 4, she was like one of my prime suspects. I was there's something off, you know? And I even think in the first draft, wasn't she one of the ghost
Possibly.
faces? I think she was, and then it leaked and they changed it. I think her encounter with a ghost face, surviving it, made her obsess over it even more. Not necessarily like the horror movie side of it. It made her dive into the true crime side of it, and it made like I think that's what's because she's from Woodsboro. She's living in New York City. This is where this shrine is. I don't know. I'm just going off of like little things that I found in the trailer. She seems awful at home in that one shot of her at the shrine. So I'm
Okay.
just like, yeah, I think it's gonna be Kirby.
All right. Well,
That's my prediction.
we will see in what, about a month's time, a little less than that, I think.
Yeah,
Um, who won our Scream 6 killer predictions. Yeah, I'm excited for that. It should be fun to see how close we actually are.
yeah.
All right.
Oh man.
That is it for seller news. I guess we just
Yes.
lumped the Scream 6 predictions in there, but I that works. I think that works for where it is. So
The news was that we had a bet. That
well, the
was the big
news is
news.
that we had a bet. We're not going to bet money. We're going to bet our pride in horror movies on this
Yeah. Our our hard-earned time.
to make each other watch schlock one way or the other.
Yeah. I I think if I pick a double feature just because well, I don't know. Maybe you'll hate it. I hope you don't.
Same here. Same here,
You
Sam.
you still haven't seen my soul to take, right?
I have not. No.
Oh man, I really hope I win this bet.
I have a feeling we're going to get some Craven and some Fulci if this thing gets going one way or the other.
Probably.
Yeah.
So Casey, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
What have you been doing?
What have I been doing besides watching some Scooby-Doo? Um, couple things. I had a couple follow-ups actually to last episode that we did, Cabin Horror. I rewatched actually Cabin Fever 2, directed by Ty West.
Who's
Um,
disowned this movie?
who has disowned this movie, and I'm alongside with him. I disowned Cabin Fever 2. This movie is awful. Okay, so the first time I watched it, I didn't hate it, and I knew like the Ty West stuff of him like wanting to remove his name and stuff. And the first time I watched it, I was like, yeah, this isn't that bad. This is all right. Watching it this time, I'm like, man, this is barely a movie. Um, it's this weird mid 2000s high school drama comedy, mostly comedy, with this poor Jonah Hill knockoff character who just doesn't fit. Or he reminds me a lot of what's the guy who was in like Hot Tub Time Machine? He was the younger guy with glasses, you know.
Oh, Clark Duke. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
one of the best friend character reminded me a
Hmm.
lot of Clark Duke in this movie, and like the annoying parts of Clark Duke in any movie.
Yeah. Clark Duke does like one character.
Yeah, and this guy was trying to do that. Yeah, this movie's just not very good. Doesn't have fun kills. The cop character that we love so much, or at least I did in the first
Is
movie.
he back?
He's back.
Oh, I loved him in the first. He was gross and creepy, but I
He
loved
was. In this one, he's just there.
him.
And he's like the one trying to figure out where the water's coming from and why people in this high school are getting sick now. And I'm like, he has none of the weird quirks he had. He's just there, and that's kind of it. This movie has one like really gross scene involving the Clark Duke type character in the third act of the movie. But besides that, this is yeah, awful. I would disown it too if I was Ty West. The other one,
Honestly, that just makes me want to watch it more. Like,
yeah, you should watch it. I mean, I would, if you're at least interested, it's worth a watch, I think.
yeah, I think I'll check it out sometime soon.
We both watched Knock at the Cabin, the new M.
Yeah,
Night Shyamalan movie. We went out to the theaters for this. It is becoming a bit of a Casey and Sam tradition to watch the M. Night movies in the theater together. We watched Old, which was so much fun.
yeah,
Knock at the Cabin, very different. I would say it's different from any other movie in M. Night's filmography. It is pretty
yeah.
much a straightforward apocalyptic drama, and
Yeah.
there's not a whole lot of weird character talk, like weird character dialogue like you expect in an M Night movie. There's some just downright incredible performances in this movie. Dave
Hmm.
Bautista is, if anyone had a question before this, who the best professional wrestler turned actor was, you watch Knock at the Cabin, you're like, it's Dave Bautista, and then everybody else, because he is so good. He just commands the screen. What stood out, and my favorite thing in this movie, is the camera work alongside Batista's performance. The camera work in this movie is just some of the most precise of M. Night's career. You're really, you feel the claustrophobic nature of it, where you're just kind of really stuck in this cabin with these people, and that's, you can't leave, you can't go anywhere. And I don't know, the camera work of M. Night is just incredible in this movie. The third act falls a bit apart. I think both of us kind of felt that. It does
Hmm.
leave a bit of a sour taste once you get to the end, and unfortunately, I do tend to go by, like, the last thing you leave your audience with is what they're going to remember. Unfortunately, he doesn't, no pun intended, knock it out of the park. It's just,
Hmm.
okay, that's a fine ending. Everything else was great before that.
Yeah. I think my thoughts almost exactly mirror yours. I know you didn't read the book,
No.
and we talked a little bit. Like I've read the book, and we talked after as the credits were rolling. You asked me like how the
Hmm.
book ended, and I told you, and you're like, "Yeah, that ending's better." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah." Like the ending that Shyamalan goes for, like I hate to say it, but it feels like an easy way out. It feels very much like a, well, this is going to be a wide release. We're not going to go with, you know, the ending of the book, which is very much a
Yeah.
gut punch. And this one like has a little bit of that. Like there's an upsetting scene, but then it's kind of just glossed over afterwards, and it,
Hmm.
it feels really like just weirdly like, I don't know. I was kind of looking forward. Weird enough. I like. I don't like a lot of downer movies. There are
Yeah.
a few that slip past me, but I was very much looking forward to this being a downer movie, and it was not. And that was a little weird for me.
Yeah, it just
Also,
doesn't nail the ending is all. I think it goes a
yeah,
direction that, I don't know if it was M. Night, the studio, who knows, that wanted to go this direction, but it just doesn't fully land that punch I think that they were
yeah.
going for. Um,
Watch the first two acts of this movie though. It's great. Batista is giving like one of the. I mean, I know it's early in the year, but and it probably won't happen because horror. But he should get an Oscar nomination
yeah,
next
he
year.
should.
He
Yeah,
really
yeah.
should. Like I mean, I say that with absolute like sincerity. Like he's just tremendous in this movie.
Mhm. Next up, I watched the Pet Cemetery series. Watched all three Pet Cemetery movies in a row. Started with the
Nice.
first. I think the first movie is, man, I think it's top three Stephen King adaptations for me. I think it's so good. I love this movie. I think all the emotional beats pack a punch. I think the performances aren't great, like especially the parents. They're a little TV movie, but I think that
But
adds
it
to the charm. It
works.
adds to the charm of this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fred Gwynn, I think he's incredible in this movie. I think he's great. As Judd, I think he's easily the best actor in this movie, delivering the best performance, and kind of, he's the one adding levity to the parents, who they're, I don't know, like I said, they're kind of feeling TV movie-ish, but him interacting with them elevates it to that next level. I
Yep.
think the death of Gage works incredibly incredible in this movie. Even more so, the funeral scene is one of the most heartbreaking scenes to watch.
Very
Um,
upsetting.
it is, and I love that this movie is like, first act kind of set up spooky stuff of like, okay, the cat's back, and that's kind of creepy, kooky, and he's kind of an asshole. Um, then the kid dies. It's like, okay, this is a straight up drama now. Did not see that coming. Third act is like, no, bonkers territory. This little 2-year-old kid is slicing people's heels and delivering lines that are so scary but yet very cute. Like
Now I play with
first I
you.
played with Judd, then I played with Mommy. Now I want to play with you. It's so great.
It is.
Even his
And like
death,
the little like
his
no
death,
fear.
no
Yeah.
fair, and he like stumbles and falls. Like, oh no. Uh,
God,
and
it's such a
also
good movie.
it is. And then the needle drop of the Ramones Pet Cemetery at the end is
Yep.
chef's kiss. I love this
Yep.
movie. 5 stars, Pet Cemetery. I watched right after we watched Pet Cemetery 2. And have you seen this Pet
Oh
Cemetery
yeah.
2? Oh, okay.
I'm a Pet Cemetery 2 defender.
Okay.
It's weird. I don't think
Yeah.
it's as good as Pet
No.
Cemetery, but like it's got some good stuff in it.
This was a first time watch. I had never seen it. Having the characters in Christmas Bloody Christmas talk so highly about this movie, I
Mm-hmm.
was finally like, all right, I need to watch this. Um, my God, this is a weird movie and not what I was
Yeah.
expecting going into it. This is we should do an episode on this one, but it's so
We
weird.
should.
It has this awesome like 90s soundtrack. Clancy Brown is delivering just a super weird performance in this that I was not
He's
expecting
the
at
he's the
all.
best part of the movie.
Whereas the first movie, whenever someone comes back from the dead, is buried in the pet cemetery, comes back, they're immediately like, I'm gonna kill everybody. This movie's like, no, let's not do that. Let's just have them be alive. But they act super weird. And Clancy Brown knocks it out of the park. He's so great. Yeah, this movie's a ton of fun. I would recommend it. I don't think Edward Furlong's very good, but I don't think he's very good
No.
in Terminator 2 either. And I think that's a 5
No.
star all-timer
Yeah.
movie. He's just as good in this movie as he is in that, I guess. I don't know.
Can I say like so the motorbike kill
It's
is one of
great.
my favorite horror kills of all time. I love it. And I thought they were gonna riff on it in Halloween 18. When Dave is out smoking the J in the backyard and he goes into the shed
Mm.
and he's on that motor, but like he's like revving up the bike and he's got the joint hanging out of his mouth and then he like knocks the bike over. I thought, oh God, Michael's gonna come up behind him and rev the bike and just smash his face in. And when that didn't happen, I got a little disappointed. I thought they were going for a Pet Cemetery 2 reference, and it really bummed me out when they didn't.
Also, Pet Cemetery 2 has like a ton of references to other Stephen King things. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Like there's
Yeah.
there's a couple Shining references. Yeah, I would recommend this movie. Just know it's not the same as the first one or the remake, which we also watched. I don't love the remake. I like it. I don't think it's nearly as good. Obviously the remake changes from Gage being the kid to die to is it Ellie?
Ellie. Yeah.
Yeah. I know some people think that works better. For me, I like the other way around. I like it being Gage. Because for me, God, like I don't know, it packs more of a punch for some reason, just because it is this child who has not experienced the world at all coming back, and I
Yeah.
feel that's scarier. Also, the remake goes the Pet Cemetery 2 route, where Ellie doesn't start killing people right away. She has
Mm-hmm.
other scenes. Also, I don't think the two like side things in the first Pet Cemetery and in the book, the Zelda and the oh my gosh, the Victor Pascal.
Oh yeah.
They don't Victor could have not been in this movie at all for the remake. He's
Mm-hmm.
just hardly in it for no reason. And Zelda is a little too conjuring-ish.
Yeah.
If that
What's
makes any sense too, like supernatural ghostly instead of in the first movie
yeah.
where it's like oh my God. And then you hear that story in the first movie of like her just wishing her
Hmm.
sister would die. I'm like, oh no, why?
Yeah. The dumb
Terrible.
waiter thing that they add is stupid. I don't
It
like
is.
that. I think it's really funny because to me, like Victor and Zelda are two of the strongest parts of the original,
Yes.
and they're iconic. You know, Victor's the poster image. Zelda is what stays in your nightmares for
Yeah.
months afterwards. And I feel like the guys that did the remake just knew that they weren't going to top that. And so they just kind of made it very
But then just don't include it.
boring.
You know what I
And that's
mean?
kind of what I thought. I'm like, it brings your movie down though. Just don't include it. Because I didn't think the way they did it was handled particularly well. It
Mhm.
wasn't exciting. It didn't add anything to it. So yeah, I agree. I really liked this one when I saw it in theaters. It's diminished a little bit over the years in my view. I still think the final shot is just killer.
Mhm.
And I
Oh,
laughed my ass off at it in the theater, and
it
people
is.
gave me some awful looks. But I'm like, that ending is funny.
Oh, the ending is I love the ending of the remake too. And then again, the cover to the Pet Cemetery
Yeah.
needle drop is awesome. Jason Clarke is also really good in this movie though. I will say
Hmm.
that. He's a much better father. He's super underrated, I think, still as an actor. I think he's great in this movie.
I think all the performance in this movie are technically, like from an acting standpoint, better than any of them from the 89. I think
Mm,
the issue is it makes it kind of a boring watch,
hmm.
in my opinion. Like I
There's
there's
also one
something
other
about
thing.
the TV family that like
Yeah.
adds a little bit of pop to the original.
There's one thing they introduce in this movie that I just don't think they expand upon enough. I guess again, we should maybe just do a Pet Cemetery episode. But
We should.
the kids that lead this kind of almost like a ceremony for when a pet dies, and
Mm,
they're all wearing like these pet masks, these animal masks. They're
cool
in one
visual.
scene. They're in one scene. They're on the poster,
Hmm.
and that's it.
Yeah. It's literally for the trailer shot. That's
And
what it
that
is.
and that sucks because I think that's a
Yeah.
cooler route they could have gone of, oh no, those aren't just kids from the neighborhood, those are dead kids or something. They could have done
Yeah.
something with that,
Or
and they
even
really
something
don't.
with like the ritual, like something more with it. I don't
Yeah.
know. It was just uh
And I
yeah,
know we
I
get
agree.
sort of they kind of show a glimpse of like the Wendigo.
Yeah.
It's like very brief and it's not
Yeah.
really touched upon. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a fine remake. It's not great. It's worth a watch. I hadn't seen it since theaters. I probably won't watch it again. So,
Yeah. I
um,
think I like it a little bit more than you, but I agree. I agree with everything you've said.
last couple things I got here very, very quickly. I'll try to be quick. I know I'll say that and then I'll just ramble on. I watched Joe Bob's Valentine's Day special. Kind of like with any Joe Bob, I watched the first movie in that because
Yeah.
I'm an old fart and I fall asleep after that. But the
Yeah.
first movie Joe Bob showed was Phantom of the Mall, Eric's Revenge.
A
And when I
movie
saw
I've been trying to get you to watch for months.
a movie that yes, as soon as it popped up, I'm like, oh my god, Sam's gonna lose his mind when he finally hears that I'm watching Phantom of the Mall, Eric's Revenge. You obviously like this movie a lot more than I did. I thought it was fine. I'm not gonna say it's a bad movie because I had a great time, and I think 95% of that is just watching it with Joe Bob though.
Yeah.
And hear him talking about Valentine's Day and all the other weird facts that have nothing to do with the movie as part of it. Also, Pauly Shore isn't Pauly Shore enough in this movie. Um, yeah, Phantom of the Mall, Eric's Revenge is it's Phantom of the Opera set in an 80s mall, the same mall from
Yeah.
Chopping Mall. Um,
Yeah.
this would be a great double feature between those two. And Pauly Shore, a favorite of ours.
Yeah.
He plays this ice cream shop employee and has one
The
scene.
eyeball gag halfway through.
I didn't like the eyeball
I
gag because
loved it.
it doesn't do any like so his thing was like putting like fake ears
Yeah.
in the ice cream before, and he gives one of the girls he's hitting on an ice cream, and it has an eyeball in it, and she just
But it's a real eyeball.
yeah,
Yeah.
and pulls it out and just like ugh, and throws it on the ground,
Yeah.
and that was
Ew,
it,
Buzz.
and that was it.
Yeah. But it was really funny. I
So
don't know.
I don't know. I think it's a stupid '80s slasher movie
Oh
with
yeah.
Pauly Shore, and I think that's all you can expect. And I kind of
And it's
loved it.
got Court from Jason Lives in it.
And it has Mac's dad from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah, it does.
So I'm all for Luther McDonald being in more movies.
Yeah.
And then the last thing, I'm just going to show these off because you saw these, Sam. I got some
Oh yeah.
Fangoria magazines. This is just like a Freddy's Dead special. I just grabbed it because my boy Fred. But
Yeah.
shout out to
Oh yeah.
John Runyon at Rainbow Comics for giving us the heads up on some Fango magazines.
Yes. If I had
Unfortunately,
more money, John, I would have come by, but
oh, there's a lot still there. I picked through them, and John's husband Ken picked through the Stephen King one. So, but I don't know.
nice.
Someone in our area was selling off a bunch of Fangos. So,
That's cool.
the last thing I had, I maybe we'll leave till the end of Doobie Doing, I guess.
Was it Velma? Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll save it to the end of mine because that's my last one too.
All
So
right. All right. Sam,
yeah.
what have you been doing? Doobie doing?
Well, I haven't been doobie doing a whole well, I have been, but not in the horror realm. Life's been crazy the last couple weeks. So I've only gotten in a couple of comfort watches really. Um I watched Chopping Mall again for like what's probably the 80th time. But like sometimes when I watch Chopping Mall, it's just like on in the background.
Yeah.
I like sat down and I watched Chopping Mall. I was like, no, I'm gonna immerse myself in this movie for 77 minutes and forget my problems. And it worked tremendously because it's fucking Chopping Mall. I love this movie.
Mm-hmm.
One day we'll do an entire episode just on this. No double feature needed. Um,
I'm down for that.
Um, but I didn't watch it solo. Immediately after that, I was like, you know what? I've got time for another comfort watch. And so I went for another doofy, stupid horror comedy. I don't know if you've seen this, but it's one of Christopher Landon's earlier works, and I love it. Scout's Guide to the
Mm-hmm.
Zombie Apocalypse. It's such a fun movie. I love Blake Anderson's like cold open as the custodian
Yep.
who's, like singing the Black Widow. I did like the dance back when I was working in a high school as a custodian. And one time I got like literally caught by the principal of the school while twerking next to my mop bucket. I love this movie.
Honestly, it might be my favorite Chris Landon movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I
I'm not a
think
huge Happy Death Day
yeah,
person, and I'm
that's
not
true.
a big freaky person. This one worked for me though. I like this one a lot.
Okay. Freaky is probably my favorite, but I think I like this one slightly more than the Happy Death Days, although Jessica Roth is better than
Yeah, she's
anything
great.
in this
She's
movie.
great in this. I'm not going to deny that. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah. So Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse. I really love this movie. It's one of my favorites. And then after finishing Velma, which we'll talk about after this, I decided to watch a another bad Scooby-Doo movie,
Okay.
but one that I actually enjoyed watching. So I enjoyed the Cartoon Network live action sequel to their, like The Mystery Begins.
Yeah.
I watched Scooby-Doo Curse of the Lake Monster,
Uh-huh.
which did you know Dean Cundy is the director of cinematography on that? He's the director
Yeah.
photographer.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what? Dean Cundy shot this crappy little TV movie. Like that's where the budget went.
Halloween, Jurassic Park, Scooby-Doo, and what's it called again? Curse of
Curse
the
of the Lake
Lake
Monster.
Monster. Yeah.
And like it's so funny. I feel like on the cover of this, I swear to God, it's like Captain Cutler. Like it's the diver
Yeah.
suit,
Yep.
right? But that's not the monster in the movie. The reason I put it on was because it was like, oh yeah, I forgot Captain Cutler was in this. And then about halfway through the movie, I'm like, wait a minute, no, it's like a weird demon frog thing. that possesses Velma.
That's
And
right.
Shaggy falls in love with her. It's it's a weird movie. It's wild. It's not very good, but I
Yeah.
really enjoy it. So
I, I I've seen both of those the Cartoon Network live action sort of prequels. I think they're supposed to be
because they're set in
prequels
like high school. Yeah.
to the at least the one that we're going to talk about. I think they're supposed to be prequels to that. But yeah, I've seen those. They're not. I don't think they're terrible.
No.
They're not good, and they don't have any money. They're definitely Cartoon
Yeah.
Network TV movies, but I think
Oh yeah.
they're fun.
They're fun. They're good little like 3-star, throw them on in the background
Yeah.
movies. And
It's
Nick Pilatus is actually a pretty good live action Shaggy too. He had
yeah.
big shoes to fill with Matthew Lillard, but he's genuinely very good in these movies.
Isn't one of the is it Robbie Amell is Fred?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Robbie Amell is Fred. He's pretty
Yep.
funny in them too.
Yep.
And then Haley Kiyoko is Velma, and
Yep.
she's doing some wild stuff in this
I
movie.
remember
Like,
liking the Velma. I thought Daphne was really boring.
yeah, they just don't do much with Daphne in these ones, which is unfortunate. I mean, come on, you can't, especially when you're coming off of Sarah Michelle Gellar playing her in live action. It's like,
I have a theory, and we'll get to it when we get to our movies, though.
okay, okay,
But I'll say it now. The best version of Scooby-Doo is when Daphne is at her best, if that makes sense. If they're actually doing something
yeah,
with Daphne, doesn't matter about Fred or Velma, or even Shaggy or
hmm,
Scooby, really. If Daphne is kind of a character who has character progression, character arc, and one you like to
yeah.
follow. Because
I
both of the
agree
movies we're
because
going to
like,
talk about have great Daphnes.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, like even looking back on Happy Halloween Scooby Doo, her whole thing with Elvira,
Yeah.
like it's funny. Like, yeah, Daphne, if they nail her character, she pops. And that's what I think I love about Be Cool Scooby Doo. Is Daphne's character in that is an actual character.
Mm-hmm.
She's not just the pretty redhead that spouts
Yeah.
expository, like, ah, yeah, I dig that.
All right.
That's a good theory.
Sam. Actually, I think this theory kind of lends itself to this. Velma.
Yeah.
Velma, we're going to talk about the last 4 episodes here. I forgot what some of these episodes are at this point.
Yeah.
When we come
What
back to
it
the
boils
show,
down to.
I pulled it up. The first one that we came back to since last episode was the Fog Fest.
Yes. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. And
So,
so we get from there to the last episode of the series.
mhm.
What I don't know. What are your thoughts on these last couple episodes, or maybe just the series as a whole at this point? I don't know.
Yeah, I think we can just talk about the series as a whole, I guess. I think the best episode is episode 6. I think that's the only one that even remotely tries to feel like a Scooby Doo mystery. Although I didn't mind the finale at times. Um, it's a weird show because there were things that I really liked about it. There were things, especially in the back half of the season, that I was laughing at, that I was invested in. But for every one of those decisions, there were 2 or 3 more where it was
Mhm.
like, oh, you went for the low hanging fruit, or oh, like this feels like needlessly aggressive
Yeah.
to like the franchise, to the characters, to like even us as an audience. And I don't know. I was really hoping that at the very least Velma would morph into something that was like it was like Pretty Little Liars Original Sin or the Amazon I Know What You Did Last Summer, where it's like it might not be like good, but it's like kind of trashy fun,
Hmm.
you know? And
It doesn't get to that
I don't
level.
know. It doesn't. It doesn't. And I feel like they set up some threads for a season 2, which is now apparently happening. They're apparently moving forward. I'm like, sure, take all 3 seasons of Close Enough off of HBO Max, but give this another season. David
Close enough
Zaslav.
rules.
Yeah, Close Enough is awesome. Bring that back. Um,
Or let
I don't know.
JG Quintel do the next season of Velma instead.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously. Get some fresh blood in Velma.
Okay,
It needs it. It needs it.
yeah.
So there's my like not entirely scathing thoughts on it. I know you can rip this one a new one.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so I find it funny that when we started this, we covered like the first two episodes, and I was like, yeah, it's not. I'll at
It's
least
not
defend it.
terrible. And I was like, fuck
I'm
this.
stopping this show. Um, and by the end of it, I'm like, man, this is one of the worst things I've ever seen. And you're like, yeah, why not do season two? Um,
Yeah, I was kind of like, yeah, okay, season two is coming. I'll watch it.
so by the end of this show, the entire mystery is that Velma's mom has gone missing, and we find out who the killer is, or the killer of these teenage girls is, that's been taking their
Fred's mom.
brains and putting them into jars.
Yeah,
And yes, it's Fred's mom. And you
yeah,
could have seen that coming a million miles away. I had two predictions. The show does both and then cops out on one of them. One was Shaggy's parents, or Norville's parents,
hmm
does a terrible joke with that and then moves on, and we find out it's Fred's mom. Um, her motivation's fine. I think it's fun. She just doesn't trust that her idiotic son Fred is gonna be in charge of the company one day.
yeah. I mean, they
Uh,
rip it right from Get Out, though. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's literally just like people doing Get Out,
yeah, and
which is what Get Out was
I,
about. Was
I,
white people doing Get Out. So.
yeah, I think coming out of the show, looking at obviously in any Scooby-Doo, the mystery really doesn't matter. It's about the characters and us having fun with Fred, Daphne, Velma, Shaggy, and Scooby. Spoilers, Scooby does not show up in this show at all. He's mentioned in this terrible joke with Project Scoob. Awful.
Yeah.
The mystery machine sort of shows up by the end of this. Fred purchases it from, it was Velma's mom's car, right? Or is it?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And they make jokes about it being like
Like a
you could,
pedo van.
like a pedo van, and you could get raped in it. And I'm like, this
Yeah.
show hates that it's a Scooby-Doo show, doesn't it? And that was
Yeah.
my biggest takeaway from this, is that this show just hates that it has to be a Scooby-Doo show. Fred gets the only character arc in this show, because by the end he pretty much disowns his family and is like, I'm gonna go solve mysteries. Like, cool,
Yeah.
at least Fred's on the right track. Daphne's back to square one. Nothing has changed with Daphne.
Yeah.
She was supposed to find
And
out who her parents are. She found out, and that was it, and moved on.
like
Velm,
and Velma like started to grow, but by the end of by the last episode, she was being snarky and bitchy again with
yep,
everybody. And I was just like,
and doesn't
is that
have any
not what you just yeah,
progression with Daphne either, which is what the entire
yeah.
series was setting up. And then there's Norville.
Wait, I don't even know where we left off with him. Like that's how
He
they just he's boring.
I wish he died. I was hoping he would die. He sort of saves the day at the end. He ends up being the one that kills Fred's mom.
Oh
And he's
God,
like,
that's right.
by dropping like a boulder on her. Um
Yeah.
and by the end he's like trying to cope with that, and his dad's like, have you ever tried weed?
Oh
And it
yeah,
like
that's
just
right.
cuts to the next scene, and we don't ever get anything from that,
Yeah.
because this show hates that it's a Scooby-Doo show. Does
Yeah.
set up that there's a new mystery to be solved in season 2. Don't care. I'm not going to watch it. I'm not covering it on this show, Sam. I'm saying it right now. I hate this show. I hate that I had to watch 10 episodes of it.
But you were the reason we had
I
to watch
know,
10
but
episodes.
I don't like starting things and not finishing them, and we have finished it.
I
This is
get
it.
it.
Season 1,
I get
done.
it.
Not watching anymore. I'm done with this show. It's awful.
I'm not gonna lie, like I if I'm bored, I'll throw on season two when it's on. Like I don't know.
Okay.
Like I will, but it's not gonna be one where it's like, oh, Velma season two gets such and such release date, and I'm like marking it on my calendar because I don't care that much.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not a very good show.
no.
It's just not. I I think the thing that bothers me the most about its season two renewal is just the fact that we've had so many great things taken from us on HBO Max, and
Or
not
not.
just like canceled, but just completely obliterated, you know,
And I mean,
for us as
we didn't throw this in the news, but there was a there's been two Scooby-Doo projects that have been
yes,
canceled, with
the
Velma
Scoob
possibly getting a
Haunted Holidays,
yep, and
and then
a Hex Girls animated movie coming to
yep,
HBO Max that got canned before they get to the animation part of it. Apparently, the voice acting has been done and everything like that. So,
yep.
but we get Velma season 2. Yay!
Woo-hoo.
Woo woohoo!
We put our hands together and we go woohoo.
Well, Sam, let's give a woohoo hoo and jump into our main topic then. I'm going to start with that movie because we have to talk about. First up, we got to give a woohoo hoo to 2002's Scooby-Doo, the ultimate classic Scooby-Doo. I love this movie. I know you do too.
Watch it on VHS.
What's that?
Watch it on VHS.
I'll be honest with you, Sam. I didn't watch it for this episode because I have seen this movie literally a million times.
Yeah, that's fair. If you watched on VHS, I was going to ask you if you fast forwarded through the credits to get to the deleted scenes at the end.
No, mine does have the deleted scenes. I have not
Yeah.
watched.
Oh,
I've watched them on the DVD, but
what? Oh my God, dude. So when I had this VHS, that was like as soon as you got the smoke coming out of the tiki eyes from the little like post credit or the end credit scene with Shaggy and Scooby,
mm-hmm.
I was hitting the fast forward button to get to watch the deleted scenes at the end. I thought a couple of those things were like I thought a couple of those scenes were funnier than things that were actually in the movie. Um, I loved those as a kid, especially the last one where Scooby fakes a heart attack to try and get out of the little like cage that they put him in.
Mm-hmm.
Then he like literally just like opens one eye to check. It's funny. I
It
don't know.
is. I
Yeah.
like. Okay, so
Tangent. Sorry. That was my
2002
bad.
Scooby-Doo, the first live action Scooby-Doo movie. Um, Starring, I mean, there's so many great people in this movie. I mean, you get Matthew
Mm-hmm.
Lillard as Shaggy, who has since become the next version of Shaggy. He's after Casey Kasem, and who's the guy that did Shaggy in Zombie Island? Wasn't Casey Kasem. It
Oh
was
yeah.
Scott Ines. He did
Mm-hmm.
Shaggy in the kind of like the four straight to video Scooby-Doo movies around the Zombie Island late 90s, early 2000s. And then you get Matthew Lillard, who was really he's voiced Shaggy pretty much ever since this 2002 movie in animated
Yeah.
form. Besides Scoob and Velma, I think are kind of the only two he hasn't really done since I think at least Monsters Incorporated.
Yeah.
Freddie Prinze Jr. as Fred Jones, Sarah
Yep.
Michelle Gellar as Daphne, and Linda Cardellini as Velma Dinkley. And you get Frank Welker as Scooby-Doo.
Yep.
Incredible.
And you've got
Awesome.
Rowan Atkinson as Villain.
Yeah. He's awesome. You get Mr. Bean as the baddie. It's
Yeah.
incredible. You also get Melvin Dew.
Really? Don't you mean Melvin?
Don't you mean Melvin Dew? Sam, do you remember the first time you watched this movie? Did you watch this in the theater?
Yeah. So I didn't go to movies a lot as a kid. Like my parents just weren't theater people, but I was a massive Scooby Doo fan.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because of Zombie Island. And we'll get to that later. So
Yep.
like that was Zombie Island was like probably not my introduction to Scooby Doo. The TV series was, but like that was where it kind of went into like a full tilt obsession. Like I was watching all the movies and stuff. So when this one came out, my parents took me to it. Um, yeah, it was like a Sunday evening, and They took me to it after we had like dinner at my grandparents. And the weird thing about this is like we went back to my grandparents to pick up my little sister after the movie. And that was the day that Dale Earnhardt Jr. died because they were watching that NASCAR race when we got back from the movie. I was like riding high. I was like yelling zoinks and shit. And I like
Mm-hmm.
ran into the living room and like all of them were just like stone faced and sober. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on? Really, yeah. So it was a weird experience, man. I love this movie though. What about you?
Mm-hmm.
What was the first time you watched it? Do you remember?
I don't remember. My parents, like yours, were not theater goers. So I did not see this in the theater. But I watched it on VHS and then DVD religiously because, like you,
Mm-hmm.
I was a Scooby-Doo kid.
Yep.
I watched the original animated series. I watched the late 90s, early 2000s straight to video movies like Zombie Island and Alien Invasion,
Yep.
which is Ghost. I had watched those. Then obviously this movie added to that Scooby-Doo love that I already had at that point. And watched it religiously. I have a certain movies that were on our my parents always had a minivan that had a DVD player,
Mm,
or I think maybe even earlier a VHS player in it. And
yep.
I had a
Yep.
certain rotation of movies that were always in the car. It was the in the car movies, and Scooby
Yep.
Doo was one of them. So I watched this movie just religiously on road trips. So yeah,
Yep.
this movie holds a very special place in my heart, and one that, like you, has added to my Scooby Doo fandom.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. This movie just I remember sitting in the theater and seeing the WB logo come up and getting that bite taken out of
Mm-hmm.
it and then just the I'm like, I mean, it blew 9-year old me's fucking brain out. Like it
Mm-hmm.
was like, what is this? Like I'm watching my favorite dog and he's real. And I mean, he's CG, but he was real.
Yeah,
It was so cool.
and I think okay, so I think the MVP of this movie, and I think you're going to agree with this, is Matthew Lillard.
Yes.
And he's the reason Scooby-Doo works in this movie. Because obviously the movie has 2002 CGI in it. It's not
Yes.
great, doesn't hold up.
It's still
Scooby-Doo
better
is
than the Cartoon Network one though.
yes, Scooby-Doo is fine. The monsters are not good at
Yeah, the
all,
monsters are very weightless.
which is fine. They're the
Yeah.
monsters in a Scooby-Doo movie. That's fine. But Scooby-Doo
Yeah.
you still need to believe is there and is a character interacting with everyone. And the reason
Yep.
it works is because of Matthew Lillard. And I think
Yeah.
that's such a hard thing to pull off. And he pulls it off miraculously in this movie. Sam, go into your spiel on Matthew Lillard because I know you have maybe a hot take, but I agree with it.
I genuinely so I here's the thing. I almost researched and looked up who was up for Oscars the year this movie came out,
It
but
doesn't
I
matter.
don't care.
Doesn't matter.
It does not matter. Matthew Lillard should have won. I guess it would probably be best supporting,
Yeah.
right? Like he's not a lead. It's
No,
an
Scooby-Doo is the
ensemble.
lead. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So Matthew Lillard 100% should have won best supporting actor this year. He gives one of the most like uncanny performances. He transforms into a cartoon
Mm-hmm.
character. The mannerisms, the voice, everything about him is everything you love about the beatnik that you've only seen in 2 dimensions so far. And he brings depth and humanity to him. And he's acting alongside nothing. And there are multiple moments in this movie. The scene that gets me is when like he's trying to rally Scoob to run out before the sacrifice. And he's like saying this stuff like, who's my best pal in the whole world? And like
Right.
he's tearing
Mm-hmm.
up. And it's just like waterworks, man. Anytime. It is one of the all-time like greatest performances in any movie. I genuinely and it's so funny to like watch his interviews because he's like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't really have a process." The cameras start rolling and the spirit of Shaggy just like possesses me, and I'm like,
Yeah, it
that's it.
does.
Like, I don't know. There's no one that has translated one character from one medium to another as well as Matthew Lillard has done it. And the fact that he is now the voice of Shaggy just goes to show you, like, he's he stepped into Casey Kasem's huge shoes. Like, and I know that, Scott Innes did some stuff between them, but like Casey Kasem was Shaggy before
Yeah.
Matthew Lillard, and I mean Casey Kasem still is Shaggy, but like Matthew Lillard is just as much Shaggy now. Like, they're both synonymous with it.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be like if someone was cast as Tony Stark in the MCU, like, what, 4 years from now, which will probably happen. And they were just as good, and all of a sudden everybody was like, Robert Downey who? Like,
Mm-hmm.
insane. It's insane. I
Yeah.
I genuinely, like, I've never seen someone commit so hard to a performance that's literally for a movie that's super goofy and doesn't need it, but he's giving it his all anyway.
I
And
was
that's
just gonna say there's a heart and a humanity to this movie too, and it's because of Shaggy. Even in
mhm.
the scene we kind of made fun of while introing the two movies here was the woohoo. It's so great because he's the one still. So the movie opens. I guess let's jump into the movie because this movie actually has a plot for a Scooby-Doo movie. So
Yeah.
does the next one. But this
The
movie
Wow Toy Factory.
opens at the toy factory. We get this incredible ghost in the beginning of this movie. I think it's one of the coolest looking Scooby-Doo villains.
Yeah.
Obviously, old man in a mask, it gets revealed. And we kind of get the archetypes for each character. Daphne's the damsel in distress. Velma's the brains of the operation. Fred is the one that takes the credit, and Scooby and
The
Shaggy
narcissist.
are the ones that catch the villain by accident. And it's the
Yeah.
archetype you come to expect from Scooby-Doo. And Fred gets to get interviewed by Pamela Anderson in the first 5 minutes of this. And for some reason, she has the mystery machine. Why is she driving this?
Yeah.
Fred, who gave her the
And
keys?
the guy in the ghost mask, his motive is literally Pamela Anderson. They're like, Smithers wanted revenge after he refused to go out with him. Why is he haunting a toy
Yeah.
factory then? It makes no sense.
Did he know she
but
was going to
it's
show
so
up in the
funny.
mystery machine?
And his like whole line delivery of like, loved you, Pamela, or how could you, Pamela? I'm a lover boy of George Clooney in proportions. That cracked me up as a kid, and it still cracks me up now.
I also
So
love that
stupid.
that Fred is signing these autographs, and there's someone with an ascot.
Yeah, nice ascot.
And
You know,
immediately this movie opens with the Scooby Gang breaking up. I mean,
yeah,
something you would not expect from the first live action Scooby-Doo movie. If anything, you'd want to see them like getting back together. No, this movie and the James Gunn script relies on Scooby-Doo already. We don't need to set up these characters. You know who they are. Their archetypes. But what kind of story can we tell in live action form when we break the Scooby Gang up? And so they all go their separate ways.
Can I
Go ahead.
One of my favorite lines in the movie. I'm gonna stop and talk about lines for a while because I quote this like, religious wingnuts quote the Bible.
This is our Bible, Sam.
This is our Bible. Love comparing everybody to different parts of a banana split, and all of the stuff is gross, like not stuff you would put on a banana split, but also he goes, Fred, big banana. Prince Jr. just goes like, I'm just like, as a kid, like, really funny line reading, and you giggle because like, haha, big banana, I guess. As an adult, it's like, oh fuck, that's like really funny.
Oh, and there's a lot of those. As soon as the group breaks up, we get Scooby and Shaggy smoking something in the mystery machine.
Pastaducci's playing, and it's so great.
And just smoke rising from the mystery machine. Incredible visual. Also
And it,
making
like,
nasty
talk about
food.
toasted. Yeah,
Eggplant baguette.
with hot sauce.
Cha-cha-cha.
Ra-cha-cha-cha. Oh yeah.
So yeah, the
The,
Scooby Gang's gone their separate ways. They all come together almost immediately at the airport. I'm trying to remember what everybody's what is Velma doing at this point? Because Daphne's gone off and become like a martial arts badass. Fred has written the book Fred on Fred,
Faces of Me,
The Many
and he's on,
Faces of
yeah,
Me.
he's on the
Um,
lecture circuit. So
Scooby and
Velma,
Shaggy are just like
they're just
hanging
hanging,
out in the
man.
mystery machine. Yeah,
Materialism's not really our bag, man.
yeah.
um, no, Velma, and this is where the deleted scenes come in because each of them have like a flashback in this sequence.
Okay,
Um, that was
I think I
deleted from the
remember those, but
movie.
yeah.
But like, yeah, Velma in the movie, it's like in the theatrical cut, it's really funny because she says like, "Well, I've been working for NASA, but more importantly, I'm on a journey of self discovery." And Fred responds with, "Wow, NASA." It's like it's the best. But the flashback with Velma is even like it's so funny. It takes away from the joke a little bit in the timing, which is probably why they cut it. But like shows her in a therapy group and she's talking about her her time with Mystery Inc. And everybody starts talking about all their favorite people in Mystery Inc. They're like, "Oh yeah, like that stoner guy and his big dog." And everybody's chiming in about like Fred and Daphne, and all of a sudden the therapist leading the group goes, I don't remember a Thelma. And then it cuts back to Fred going, "Wow, NASA." Oh man, yeah. I love the airport scene. I think it's so funny. It's so funny, like bringing all of these characters back together after they've presumably been gone for or away from each other for 2 years, and just seeing how their dynamic has shifted. And it's like, oh, this isn't the Mystery Inc. gang that
Hmm.
we remember. They're all peeved at each other, and they're all now 2 years later, except for Shaggy and Scooby, are all very different than what we kind of remember them as.
Hmm. Yeah, and then okay, like we said, we got the first stoner joke almost immediately after they split up. We get the next one
Yep.
on the airplane where Shaggy gets a seat next to Mary Jane, and that's like his
Like, that is
favorite
my
name.
favorite name.
And it is Shaggy Dream Girl, named Mary Jane, also eats dog food like he does, like a bunch of weirdos.
But they're 100% vegetarian, and I love them. Yes, yes. The Isla, and like Isla Fisher is so good in this.
Mm-hmm.
This was the first thing I think I'd seen her in. And so when she
Yeah.
started popping up in like other things, I'm like, oh hey, it's Mary Jane from Scooby Doo.
Scooby Doo.
Like that's who she'll always be to me. And she's been in like iconic stuff, like
Yeah.
way more than this. But I just,
No, she's Mary Jane from Scooby Doo.
yeah, she's burned into my brain as Mary Jane from Scooby Doo.
Yeah. Um. Okay, so the movie is the again the plot of the movie is the Mystery Inc. All members all get invited to Spooky Island, and one, how has Universal not made this an actual like theme park ride?
Yeah,
Because if there was a
yeah.
Spooky Island amusement park, I think that would go over crazy. I would love to
Oh yeah.
visit there. I want to go to this place. It'd be awesome.
Oh, it's the coolest place. Like, I would have loved to be on set for this movie.
Yeah.
The sets are so cool.
And we get introduced to Rowan Atkinson, who we later figure out is the villain of this movie. Mr. Bean is the bad guy, but he's not who you would expect.
Yeah. Because he's scrappy.
Okay, we don't need to go beat by beat of this movie,
No.
but
But yeah,
since we're there, Scrappy Doo as the bad guy, Sam.
I think it's inspired and hilarious and even as a kid, I thought it was really funny that
Yep.
Scrappy would be the villain. Like I'm a Scrappy defender. I actually
I
like
love Scrap.
Scrappy.
I love
I
Scrappy
I
Doo.
think he's really funny. I love the movies where it's just him, Shaggy, Scooby, and then
Mm-hmm.
there's like some of them where it's just the three of them and Daphne,
Yeah.
and I love those episodes. Like those are great. Yeah, I'm a Scrappy fan, but it's really funny to take a character that is like mostly pretty hated by the Scooby-Doo fan base, I
Yeah.
guess. I feel like we're in the minority on Scrappy. Um, but to take someone with that kind of like a character with that kind of reputation and make him the main antagonist of the big screen
Mm-hmm.
debut of your franchise is really funny.
This is also, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Sam. This is the last time we've seen Scrappy Doo,
I believe so, yeah. Although
which,
he does make an appearance in the comic series Scooby Apocalypse,
okay, that doesn't count.
but that doesn't count, no. But that is a great comic series if you haven't read it. It's
That
tremendous.
that seems insane to me that Scrappy Doo, who is a character that is really ingrained in Scooby Doo iconography,
Oh
has
yeah.
hasn't appeared in a Scooby Doo TV show, straight to video movie, Cartoon Network movie, HBO Max series, anything since 2002. It's been
Yeah.
21 years, Sam, since we've seen Scrappy Doo. It's time for justice for Scrappy. Hashtag justice for Scrappy.
Hashtag justice for Scrappy.
Or
Hashtag
HBO
demons.
Max execs, if you're listening and you want a Scrappy Doo spinoff to Velma, hit us up.
We'll
Um,
only have him pee on Daphne once.
he'll pee on everyone. He's
Oh
peeing on
God,
me.
he's peeing on me. You are marking your territory. The line that gets me, and I never even noticed it as a kid. But the line that gets me in the van now is when he like literally grabs his own crotch and goes, "You don't have the scrote for this job, Pally." I'm like, in a family movie, like,
Oh, there's a lot they get away with it in this family movie.
but like scrote, I don't know why, but that word is so like jarring to me. I'm like, what? Why would you put that in this movie? It's so funny.
The- and if rumors are to be believed from Sarah Michelle Gellar herself recently, there's a lot more of this movie that we have never seen, and I
Yeah.
think we need
There's a
that.
steamy Daphne Velma scene, I
I
guess.
guess I presume there's more out there too. Then
Oh yeah.
I would love to see like a big box set with like this movie and Monsters Unleashed together and include all that stuff, and maybe like include James Gunn's original like R-rated script for this movie. I think that'd be pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Make it like a
Um,
big gift set for the
yeah,
oh shit. Well, it's past the 20th anniversary of the first one now.
wait till Monsters Unleashed.
2024.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, because yeah, there is so much stuff in this movie. I love the when Fred and Velma get mind controlled in this movie where everyone is talking
And
like they're
VH was like, what? And
what?
I was like,
What?
later on.
What's up, dog? And dog.
Uh,
It's such a great
and then like,
parody of early 2000s, late 90s teens. And I think it just completely nails the type of like the slang of the time while overacting that type of slang too.
oh, 100%. Because it feels like time they do it, it genuinely feels like a monster from like a different world or realm or whatever is trying to be a teenager from that era,
From the
and it's really
2000s.
funny. Yeah, yeah. I love Velma's like Linda Cardellini is just
It's
as good as
great.
Willard, I think, in this. She her like line delivery when she's not possessed anymore and she's trying to go after Daphne, the like yo yo you yo, like the uncertainty in which she's like saying it is so great. Like uh and then the whole body swapping thing. I'm a sucker for body swap
Mm-hmm.
comedy. So the reveal in the theater Oh, dude, like 9-year-old me lost my fucking mind when Freddie Prinze Jr.'s voice came out of Daphne. Like, I died, man.
And I can
I
see
died and went to
myself
Scooby
naked.
Heaven. Fred keeps touching me.
Also, I mean, this movie is one of the reasons I were Freddie Prinze and Sarah Michelle Gellar already married? Because obviously they had done I Know What You Did.
I think they were at least dating by this point. I don't know if they got married before or after this movie, though.
Yeah.
It was either right before or right after this movie, though.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot
Their
of fun,
chemistry's, yeah.
great in this. We also get Sugar Ray during the in this movie.
Possessed Sugar Ray.
Possessed Sugar Ray. You're only going to get that in 2002 Scooby-Doo.
I love how like Daphne's like kind of into him right up until she sees the green eyes, and then she's like, "Nah, I'm out."
Yeah.
And it's not because it's fucking Sugar Ray. Like, oh, Daphne, you could do better.
Again, Fred's right there. Uh, let's bring up another cast member we haven't talked about yet.
Miguel Nunez Jr.
Miguel Nunez, as a voodoo. He's like a voodoo character that lives on the island. Like he's
Yeah,
not part. So
probably.
I assume this amusement park is the entire island. That's what I've always taken it as, right?
But he's like the one hermit that just wouldn't move off the land or
Yeah,
something. And he's so funny. Like, and the character, you could maybe make a case for it being a little problematic.
yeah.
It's a little bit of a stereotype, but
It's
he's
also
really funny in it.
yeah. It's also a Scooby-Doo
Yeah,
movie. Like you can't take anything in this too seriously. There's
yeah.
Sugar Ray is a
like
character in this.
like his whole like I used to do his scene with Daphne. Like I would literally do both parts on the playground to make people laugh because I just knew it heart for
Uh-huh.
like word for word, you know. And I love the gag where he's sacrificing like a supermarket chicken,
Yeah.
but that chicken's already dead. Oh, I know it's dead. You think I didn't figure that out when I saw it didn't have a head? You smart little girl. So funny.
He is super funny in this. I love okay, again. So I'm gonna go back to my Daphne theory.
Mm,
Okay, because in this movie, her whole thing is that she's always the damsel in distress in all the Scooby-Doo Mystery Inc. situations. She's always the one that gets kidnapped and has to be rescued by the rest of the Scooby Gang. I love the subversion of that in this movie. We get the fun haunted house stuff, which we'll touch on more. But at the end, she's the one that gets to have this like cool badass fight with this wrestler that works on the island for the
yeah.
bad guys too. Um, and she delivers the awesome line at the end of now who's the damsel in distress? Me.
Me. Straight up.
Straight up.
And then she just like kicks him down the shaft and like he lands like his back lands
Oh, he's
square on
impaled.
those like
He's impaled
spiky.
by those spikes. Yeah, he's
I'm
dead.
like, yeah,
She
he's
killed him.
dead.
Daphne
Yeah.
murdered someone in this movie. She straight up killed a man.
And
He's
saved
dead.
the day doing it.
She did. She's also a murderer. She should probably get arrested, but she also saved the day. But okay, so we get the like fun amusement park, the fun rides stuff. Again, that's the stuff I want to go on if Spooky Island was ever a real thing.
Oh yeah.
It looks so much fun. You get okay, I need to hear your thoughts on this scene.
The fart
The
contest.
fart contest.
Can I go off on a tangent?
Yeah.
So when I was a kid around this time, I was getting hospitalized every once in a while for like asthma attacks and shit, you know? And that always sucked. Well, one time, I don't know why, but I was in the hospital for like an asthma thing. And I got really gassy one night. Like uncomfortable, bloated, like, oh God, I can't do this. Like this hurts. And they gave me some sort of pill and I started farting. I farted like nonstop for like 4 hours straight. I'm talking like 10 seconds max between farts. And I took that opportunity to do that whole scene in my room for my nurses. Like I literally did the whole scene farting and like tensing my butt so it would actually kind of sound like it. I had complete control of my gas. It was weird, man. It was like one of the best nights I've ever spent in the hospital. I'll tell you that. I laughed myself into like an asthma attack again though, but it was worth it. I'm not stopping until your first singed off.
So I take it you like the farting scene.
I love it. This is a 5-star banger movie. I understand why people don't like the farting scene. I think it's hilarious.
I don't love it, but I also think it is very funny. Like it's not the humor Scooby-Doo is known for,
Yeah.
but I think it's really funny. And again, it's because of Matthew Lillard that it's
Yeah.
really funny.
Lillard sells it. The thrusting out his butt with every fart.
The lifting like the one leg and like tapping it over.
So good. It's legit. Just like uh his performance in that scene is as unhinged as his Stu Macher in the third act
Yeah.
of Scream.
I am convinced Stu and Shaggy are the same person. He just
Oh
went
yeah.
off to the Scooby Gang after.
Yep.
I think this is around the time we get maybe my favorite Fred line in this movie.
The dorky chicks one.
Yeah. The dorky chicks turn me on too.
Yeah, I'm a man of substance.
Pretty much the archetype for the Fred we get in the Velma TV show is
Yeah.
Freddie Prinze Jr.'s version, just the actual R-rated version we get in Velma.
Yeah.
Freddie Prinze Jr. I think is super funny in this movie too.
Oh yeah. His whole like coming up to that girl's like boyfriend or whatever when he's signing the magazine and he goes, "Good looking guy," because he's dressed just
Yeah,
like
just
him.
like him.
It's so funny. And his oh god, his line from earlier. I'm sorry, we're hop skipping around
Oh,
a
that's
lot,
fine.
but like
People have seen
his
this movie a million times just like us.
his his interview at the beginning where they're like, "What's the secret to your success?" And he goes, "Teamwork. I do a tremendous amount of teamwork." Oh my god. It just anytime you get Freddie Prinze Jr.'s Fred on the news in one of these movies, it's comedy gold because
Mm-hmm.
they run that gag in the second one too, where they keep taking him out of context. And it's really funny every time.
This entire cast, I think they're all incredible in their roles. I think they're all
Oh, they are.
so great. I think there is okay. I'm not going to touch too much on the second one, but I'm just going to briefly say I like the love interest in for Velma in Monsters Unleashed a lot more than in this movie.
Yeah,
It's just kind of
this guy feels
there
just
in
kind of
this movie.
throwaway.
Seth Green is much more of a dynamic character in Monsters Unleashed and fits with
Mm-hmm.
Velma a lot more. This is just some rando on the island.
This is just some guy with a goatee and a Led Zeppelin shirt that just
Yeah,
keeps asking her, like, "Hey, what are you doing?"
what's up? Yeah, he's just giving her attention. Like who is this guy? Why is he here? Why do we need this?
And there's like no reason except for the weird scene at the end where like he's like, "You saved me," and then he like goes to like kiss her or something. She gets, "You're fogging up my glasses," and like punches him in the chest, and it's like, what?
Yeah, we just didn't need him. I think that's the one thing in this movie where I'm like, oh, I don't need that.
Yeah, it doesn't take it out of 5-star territory
No,
for
no,
me
no,
though.
no. But it's just the one thing where I'm like, yeah, that
Yeah,
just could be gone. Bring in Seth
yeah,
Green earlier.
I agree. I agree. I also think like the soundtrack to this is just the
Mm-hmm.
best thing ever. I still listen to this when I'm at work all the time. I love it. I love that it's like a blend of like late 90s, early 2000s hip hop and like pop punk, and you've got a little like a girl band pop in there with like Bump in the Night playing over them running out of the haunted
Mm-hmm.
house after the chase sequence. Oh my god, this soundtrack just rules.
Also, whenever it has a musical cue of the Scooby-Doo theme, the
Hmm.
like I don't know, it's like the Spider-Man theme in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man or
Yeah,
something. It's the theme. Like, oh, like you get chills when you hear it come up.
yeah, yeah. It's so great. It's so great. I so much like as much as this subverts and like kind of upends a lot of the Scooby-Doo tropes, it does it with so much love for the franchise. Like it's very
Yes.
clear that this is made by people who genuinely love Scooby-Doo and want to make something that honors it. Which is where it differs from Velma quite a bit,
Yeah, I was
you
just gonna
know?
say this is the exact opposite of Velma. Of
Yeah,
this movie, love or the creators behind it, you can definitely tell love Scooby Doo. They're like, how can
yes,
we kind of modernize it, make it for a new age, maybe add a little more of the adult elements to it, but keep the core essence of what people love Scooby Doo. Because like you look
yeah,
at this, and let's say you take off all the costumes of the characters and you
yeah.
put them in a group and you line them up, you ask someone on the street, they're still going to figure out that this is Fred, Daphne, Velma, and Shaggy. Unlike
Oh yeah,
Velma, where you're like, I don't know who those people are.
yeah,
They're other characters. They're not the Scooby Gang. Where this one does so well in just capturing the magic of that.
yeah. Oh, 100%. Like it still makes like some of them slightly unlikable, especially at the beginning,
Yeah.
you know? Like they're not exactly likable characters, but there's always a little bit of heart in there, you
Hmm.
know? And I feel like that's what Velma was missing. Velma was missing the heart.
Yeah.
There just wasn't anything there. And I genuinely wonder how much of that is just the lack of Scooby.
It is. It has to be
Yeah.
part of
Like
it, right?
part of it at least. Yeah.
Because it's. I mean, Scooby Doo is the he's the obviously he's the main character. He's what the entire franchise is named after. Um, I think there is a way to do it without Scooby Doo in it, but you have to make sure all the other characters are still the same. And that show just didn't do that. Whereas this show completely nails that and adds in, like we said, Scrappy Doo into this, where he's still that same Scrappy Doo, because I could see the animated Scrappy Doo turning into this little asshole. He's the same
Especially when
character.
he
He
turns
is
into
the
the big
same character.
monstrous
Yeah.
version. He's still scrappy, even in monster form.
Yeah. I love that cave stuff. It's a again great
Yeah.
set in this movie. I love it. I love the tank that
Where
all the
y'all
like
do the electric slide?
I love that all the souls, the container that all like the souls are inside of. I think that is a great prop and great looking set. I also like those effects. I think those effects hold up relatively well. I do think it's
The
weird that
eyes are a
Velma
little
doesn't have.
weird, but
Yeah, I think it's weird that Velma doesn't have glasses.
yeah. I do
I
too.
remember when I was a kid, I was like, "Who is that?"
Yeah. And I mean, I get it because it's like, well, ghosts wouldn't wear glasses or
It's also,
whatever, I guess. I
but
don't
it's
know. But
Scooby
it's
Doo,
also Scooby Doo. Um,
and it would have been funnier if she still had her glasses as a
yeah.
soul.
And I love Fred's like, somebody spiked my root beer last night. Talk me down, man. Talk me down. Protoplasmic head. Still the best looking protoplasmic head here around, right? Like he's still just concerned with being the best looking.
All
uh
right. Yeah, we talked about the ending. Scrappy Doo is the big
yeah.
bad. We get homeless Rowan Atkinson just crawling out of the sewer at the end of this.
Like Matthew Lillard's expression when he hugs him and he's like smelling him. It's really funny.
Just yeah, there. And then obviously the Scooby Gang, they finally get back together. Fred recognizes everyone's kind of role in the team.
Yep.
And that's That's
And they do
Scooby-Doo.
their woo-hoo-hoo in front of
Woohoo.
all the television cameras. And then there's the hot pepper scene with Scooby and
Yep.
Shaggy as the end credits play. And it's still like my favorite. That might be my favorite part of the whole movie. I don't know why. I think like everything, I watched the extras in that scene, and I think even the extras are really funny.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know, the back and forth, the like stretching out his tongue and like layering it with ketchup is really funny. It's like sizzles and steams. And then just the Garcon, two more. They like crack them open and cheers them, and then you just see him like gulp them down. Exterior shot, smoke coming out of the tiki eyes.
I was just gonna say, I'm not gonna try not to go back to Velma for everything, but that's what that show was missing too. There was no like food, like weird food being
Yeah.
eaten in that show.
Yeah, even when they like briefly mentioned the like Norville's YouTube channel, he was eating like shrimp chips.
I'm like,
And I
I
was
want to
like,
try.
that's not weird.
Yeah, I want to try those.
Yeah. I mean, I usually want to try all the things that they make.
That's
Like,
true.
I'm not gonna lie, a chocolate covered eggplant burger with hot sauce, that sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah, we're gonna have to try all the Scooby-Doo food sometime.
Oh god, that would be a fun like mini series we could do just for like the YouTube or something.
Yeah, that'd be funny. Sam, final
Uh
thoughts. 2002 Scooby-Doo. We both gave it 5 stars, but
yeah, it's a perfect movie. Lillard should have won an Oscar. You know what? While I'm at it, I'm just gonna throw Linda Cardellini in there too. Linda Cardellini should have also won an Oscar,
I
and
mean
should have
this
gotten Best Visual
this
Effects.
should have swept the Oscars in 2002. I don't know what the Academy was
Should have.
thinking. Yeah, this is
It's
I
my
mean,
favorite movie from 2002.
um, yeah, I mean, I don't 2000 Spider-Man came out in 2002, so between
I
those
like it
two,
more than Spider Man.
that's I mean, man, 2002 was a very important year for my movie watching
Yes.
between this and
Oh,
Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. So
100%. I'm just saying, I didn't watch Sam Raimi's Spider Man until the VHS tape like completely just got gone. This one, I went through a couple.
also both had great sequels in 2004. So
Yes, they did.
yeah, this is a great movie, all-timer, one that I will continue to watch forever and ever. I love this movie. Another movie I love though, Sam, let's get to our second movie, our double feature. 1998's straight to video Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, one of the most iconic covers from my childhood. Sam,
Yep. Yes.
obviously we didn't watch this in the theater because it didn't come out in theaters.
Yep.
Um,
Do
my
I remember
my
the first time I watched it?
do you? I don't remember mine.
I do. Do
Okay.
you? You
No,
don't?
I just remember that this was just a on loop movie that I had on VHS and just watched.
Okay. So I think it was sometime in grade school, and I can't remember what grade, but it was like one of the end of the year things. We were getting out of school early or something. And so like the teacher was like, we're gonna watch a movie. What does everybody want to watch? And a bunch of kids wanted to watch Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. I had watched the TV show before, never seen this movie. But someone brought it in on VHS. And being me, I like went up and I looked at like the VHS cover and I was like
Mhm.
looking at it, I'm like, oh, this looks great, and we watched it and it scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Like I was like, this is not the Scooby Doo that I know. Like this is terrifying. And it freaked me out. And I did not want to watch that movie for a long time afterwards. And I finally got it on like DVD or VHS or something. I think VHS. And yeah, after that, it was just hook, line, sinker. That paired with The Witch's Ghost just completely hooked me as a Scooby Doo fan. And then from
Hmm.
then on, it was like every straight to video release. Um, Whatever it came out around, whether it was like my birthday or Christmas or, whatever, like I knew that my mom was going to get me a new Scooby Doo movie because it was like, God, there was a point where that was like all I was watching was just a different Scooby Doo movie every night.
Yeah.
So,
What I'll say about kind of this era as a whole of Scooby-Doo. I think we're lucky because I do think, and most Scooby-Doo fans, young and old, will agree, this was like the prime era of Scooby-Doo, because we had
Yeah.
the four main core straight to video movies that really launched everything that we got after that. We got,
Yeah.
Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, what is it? Cyber Chase, Alien Invasion,
Um,
and Witch's
and
Ghost.
Witch's Ghost.
Were
And
the
all of those were outsourced to like a Japanese animation studio, which is why the animation looks so gorgeous.
Mhm. And I mean, we got those from 98 till I think 2002 was the last
I think so.
one.
It was
And
like
then
2001 or 2002 because it was Cyber Chase,
yeah,
whenever Cyber Chase came out.
and then we get the live action two movies. And between the two live action movies, we get What's New Scooby-Doo, which was my
Yep.
Scooby-Doo series that I watched besides the original one on a repeat.
Yep.
Um
I had like the VHS tapes with like 5 episodes of
yep.
it on all the time. Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
I think that's just the prime era of Scooby-Doo, because you had Scooby on the big screen, you had Scooby-Doo on TV, you had the incredible straight to video movies. And they all kind of fit in the same vibe. Like they all didn't feel too different from one another either. Like you could
Yeah.
tell all of them are very much, I don't know, part of the same franchise and not trying to deviate too far from the core Scooby-Doo elements. Um why this movie is so iconic, and the one that has always stuck with me since then, is because there's the Scooby-Doo trope of you take off the mask, it's an old guy in the mask.
Hmm.
Whereas Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island is like, nah, these are real. Not only are
They're
the
no
zombies
monster.
real, we're gonna have these werecats in this that are doing voodoo to the Scooby Gang and have resurrected all these zombies. And it's like, this is some weird shit going on in a
It's
Scooby-Doo
like
movie.
someone talked like I was looking at letterbox reviews and there was someone that was talking about how this is essentially just like a kid's like it's like Fulci made an animated
Yeah.
kids movie. And like I know Fulci's a big blind spot, but yeah, that's pretty much what this is. Like I know the Fulci and like feel I've seen a bit of Bava and I definitely get a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of Bava influences in this. Um and yeah, I love it. Like I just and rewatching it just reminded me of how I don't know, just how like kind of fucked up this movie is for a kids movie. Like
Mm-hmm.
the Mystery Inc. gang starts melting at one point. Like you start seeing their skin start to melt off their faces.
They're gonna
Like
die.
yeah, it's intense. Oh god, the Weird Cats, they freak me out. Can you imagine being Shaggy and Scooby, not knowing that there's even like they're running from zombies? They don't know that there's weird cats. The one guy that can get them off the island all of a sudden just bursts out in fur and fangs. Like I would have probably keeled over and died right there, just heart failure. Like that, this movie, it like I can't even stress. I went home and like I slept with the light on after I watched this at school. I'm like, how did they let us watch this in
Yeah.
school?
This so like as a kid, again, this movie came out in 98. I was 4 years old when this came out. Probably saw this 98, 99 for the first time. So 4 or 5 years old. Watching this, I also remember around this time watching Hocus Pocus for the first time. And
Mm,
again, that has some scary elements in it too if you're that young. And
yeah,
I definitely, Hocus Pocus and Zombie Island are the two movies I think that have helped shape, alongside like Goosebumps books and other
yeah,
Scooby-Doo movies, my love of horror, especially as a kid. And I think it's, I don't know, this era, the 90s into the very early 2000s is like prime kids horror era, because
oh
you
yeah,
have so much going on. You have the Goosebumps books, you have the the Goosebumps TV show, and Are You Afraid of the Dark is on. You have the Scooby-Doo movies, you have Hocus Pocus, even Halloween Town to an extent.
Yeah,
on the Disney Channel is going on at the same time. I think this is just
I'd say
such a cool
there are
era of
parts of Halloween
kids
Town that
horror.
scared me as a kid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so Halloween Town 2 is still kind of scary.
I don't know if I've seen. No, I have seen two. It's
It's where
just been a
like their
while.
masks, like you turn into the monster,
Oh
and like the
yeah,
mom
that
like
one
turns
is
into
messed
a
up.
goblin witch. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah, that one is freaky.
I love that this movie opens with pretty similar to the 2002 movie
Yeah,
with the Scooby Gang solving a mystery.
and it's an old white guy in a mask, of
Yeah,
course.
and we get the reveal, and then we get, and I think again, the pop music elements that we see in 2002 Scooby-Doo and What's New Scooby-Doo with the Simple Plan opening of that TV
Mm-hmm.
show kind of starts here with Zombie Island, where you get the
Yep,
cut to this updated version of the Scooby-Doo theme song.
yep, yep, 100%.
And you get the Scooby Gang solving all these other mysteries, and they get bored. They're bored with it because it's just the same
Mm-hmm.
thing: old guys in the mask haunting an amusement park or a giant mansion or something like that. It's the same thing you would see in the animated series. And again, they go their separate ways
Yep.
immediately. And again, I'm like, James Gunn, how you like Scooby Doo on Zombie Island, don't you?
Oh
Um,
yeah, 100%. The 2002 movie is directly influenced. I mean, they split up. They get back together to go to an island where the monsters turn out to be real. And the monsters are actually kind of, well, I guess the monsters aren't really victims in
yeah,
2002,
they're also sort
but
of cat looking in the 2002 movie too.
they are, yeah, a little bit.
Uh, I like the characters where they go when they split up too in this movie because Velma
Mm-hmm.
becomes she owns her own mystery library. Like that's her job.
Yep.
She sells mystery books. Again, Daphne, my theory I think is proving to be true in this movie too, where she is a TV host. What's her show called again? It's
Coast to Coast with
Host with
Daphne
Daphne
Blake.
Blake. And Fred is her producer slash cameraman.
Yep. And
And
Shaggy and Scooby are doing security at an airport, sniffing out contraband food.
yeah, I was gonna say contraband food. And then they eat
I
all the food in the break room.
and they get fired. I
Yeah.
love it. Like, you guys ate all the contraband. Still a couple of gorgonzolas left. You two are a couple of gorgonzolas. You're fired.
And again, I think not just think, that is definitely a reference to these two are stoners.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And
Um,
it's
but unlike the 2002 movie, it's not like they went their separate ways because they didn't like each other anymore. It was they got
yeah.
bored. They got
Yeah, it's like
bored
an
of being the
actual
Scooby Gang.
it's a good reunion when they get back together. Um and it's like they're trying to chase that that feeling of the old days,
Yeah.
but then once again it becomes too much like the old days and they're getting disheartened. But you get that cool montage with like terror time, you know, cause it's terror. Like, this is one of the best soundtracks of
Yeah.
any of the direct to video Scooby-Doo's. I love it.
We also get that song again over the credits of this movie.
Yes, yeah. And it's it's worth it because like it's a banger
Oh, it is
song.
a
It's
banger song. Yeah.
it's like the best Scooby-Doo chase song. I would say it's like number one.
Yeah, incredible song, incredible soundtrack for this movie. But when we finally get to they're in New Orleans.
Yeah, New
Um,
Orleans. You get a whole bunch of like cool, spooky, like New Orleans type of scenery. And the best part, this movie is so full of fucking food porn.
oh, so much.
Like, every scene of Shaggy and Scooby eating is like mouth watering. Especially for me, I love hot stuff and the amount of hot
Oh
peppers and
yeah.
like hot sauce they're putting on things. I'm just like, Give it to me.
Also, Scooby is kind of a jerk in this movie. He steals Shaggy's food all the time, and
All
he
the
just hates
time.
cats. He hates
Yeah.
cats so much in this movie.
Yeah, it's weird because like I feel like it never really a character quality in any other Scooby-Doo movie that I can really think of. But
I mean,
yeah,
the
he's
2002
just
movie, he goes
that's true.
after a
He
cat in
does
the airplane.
on the plane, yeah. Sick grandma, bad grandma,
Bad grandma.
don't eat the kitty.
Kitty.
Uh, but Zombie Island just it rules because out to the island and like all the spooky things are happening. You're on the plantation. You get introduced to Lena and Simone, who are definitely lesbians, by the way, like
Oh yeah.
100%. Um, and Jacques the ferryman. Mark Hamill voices Snakebite Scruggs, this cranky old red herring.
Uh-huh. Incredible. Again, incredible cast in this movie. The
Oh
cast
yeah,
rules. Jim Cummings plays the not the pirate. He's the captain of the ship. Jim Cummings, who is coming to SuperCon, is playing the captain of the ship that turns into the other werewolf.
yes. We should bring our Zombie Island VHSs to
We
get them
should.
signed by him.
Man's not
Do
in
you
great
think we'd be the
condition,
only
so I don't know.
person?
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
And you can immediately tell he sounds a bit like Pete in this. But yeah, the entire voice cast I think is just so damn good in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Um, we get Frank Welker as the voice of just Fred in this. Correct?
Yeah. Who voices Scooby in this one?
Let me pull it up. Like I said, it's is it Ines or Ines that Scott
Yeah,
Ines
Scott Innes.
that plays Shaggy. He also played Scrappy in the 2002 movie. We should also throw that out there. So he's no stranger
Yeah.
to the Scooby-Doo franchise. Billy West plays Shaggy, aka
Yep.
Fry from Futurama is Shaggy in this movie.
Oh
Um
my gosh, yeah.
who
Oh yeah, and Adrian Barbeau is
Yes.
yeah, so cool. Like having an actual like scream queen horror icon voicing the main villain in a Scooby-Doo movie is so dope.
Mary Kay Bergman is Daphne, who voiced her, I believe, in all of these straight to videos. BJ Ward played Velma. Also kind of voice actor royalty. Tara Strong plays Lena,
Yep.
the character who brings them all to the island.
The honey pot.
The honeypot. Harley Quinn herself is in this. I mean, there's so many great people in this
Oh
movie.
yeah. This voice cast is just incredible.
Stacked. I think Billy West only plays Shaggy in these movies too.
I think so. I think you're right.
And I think he's a great Shaggy. I think he nails it in this.
Oh yeah. These movies like he definitely like he sounds different than Casey Kasem. Casey Kasem definitely had more of like a throaty
Yeah.
kind of like there was a gravelly quality to him that I think has kind of been phased out since he's not been in this role. I feel like Shaggy's getting a little bit more like high pitched
Mm-hmm.
and less gravelly. Um, which hey, different strokes, right? Like I don't think that we've never mind. We've had a bad Shaggy voice before, but I won't say who it is because I don't like trashing stuff. But I'm
I
not
think
counting Velma as a Shaggy
okay.
voice
He's
because they don't
he's
even call him
Norville.
Shaggy.
He's
Yeah,
Norville.
he's Norval. I'm thinking a different Shaggy, but I like this actor and I don't want to call him out.
Yeah. He's much better as MacGruber. Um,
Yes, agreed.
he Yeah. Okay. So there's a couple points in this where I remember it had been a couple years since I had watched this. But I vividly remember as a kid, there's a few scenes that terrified me. And when they get to the island and things start to happen, there's a point where they believe it's like ghost activity where they're catching real ghosts on
Mhm.
camera. And it says "Get
Get
out"
out
is
and then beware.
written on there. But after that, the group starts to figure out what's going on, and they finally catch like their first zombie. And Fred is like, "Well, it's a guy in a mask. Like it's always a guy in a mask."
And he
And Daphne's
pulls the
trying to
head
rip
off.
rip the mask off, and she's like, "I don't know, Fred. This feels pretty real." And Fred does it and rips the guy's head off. And
Yep.
as a kid, that terrified me of, oh no, like the realization of no, it's not a weirdo old man in a mask. That's an actual zombie, and the Scooby Gang is going up against a bunch of them.
Yep. Yep. It is because it's like, you know, the cool thing about the movie is it pulls the trick of like the zombies aren't the actual bad guys. They're
Yeah.
they're actually trying to help them get off the island before they meet the same fate. But when you don't know that, especially as a kid, you've never seen the Scooby-Doo gang go up against a
A
horde of
real,
anything before,
yeah.
especially not of real monsters. And it's like, oh my God, it is. It's a terrifying, it's just, it's a terrifying premise in general, but the way they do it just adds extra gravitas to it because it's so well done
Hmm.
that even as an adult now, like it's suspenseful. The third act, when I was rewatching this, like I'm like, I mean, I've watched this movie God knows how many times, definitely triple digits. And hello, Boris,
Another cat cameo.
another cat cameo. Boris, get down.
The, I was gonna say the thing that I think works so well and why it pays off so well, and that it's real monsters, real zombies, real cat werewolves, werecats in this movie, is that it sets up like it's a normal Scooby-Doo mystery. We get
Yep.
the gardener is set up to be like, oh no, that guy's the killer. That guy's the ghost pirate. He's the one haunting everyone. Or it could
Oh yeah.
be Mark Hamill's
Yep. Snake
Crocodile
bite
Dundee.
Scruggs.
Yeah. Or it could be the ship captain, or it could be one of the ladies on the island too. It could have been any of those, and it does a good job of setting up everyone.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Instead, it's just actual zombies, and the caretakers of this land are these women who have been here for hundreds of years and feed off tourists to keep them
Yep.
young and beautiful. Um,
Yeah.
what a weird
And it's
premise
like,
for a kids movie.
and it's a tragic backstory too, because like they didn't get this curse because of any particular get down. They didn't get this curse because they were greedy or anything. It was literally they were trying to protect their people,
Hmm.
you know. But over the years, that trauma has like manifested itself and turned them evil. Like they're horrible people at this point because they're luring innocents into their deaths. And I it's such a fascinating movie because there's like actual critical analysis that you could do, like deep critical analysis on like generational trauma and like the cycles of history. And it's ooh, sorry. And it's yeah, it's just I don't know. It's just an interesting. It's so interesting that a kids movie that went direct to video in
Yeah.
1998 is still prompting discussion like this. You know, there are very few direct to video movies in general that can do that, but this is one of them. This is a movie that deserved to have a theatrical release back in its time, I think.
Hmm.
Um because to me this is as good as Mask of the Phantasm, or the Iron Giant. Even like I genuinely like I put this movie up with those, direct to video or not. It's tremendous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, I mean, I think it's the pinnacle of Scooby-Doo. I think it's the best thing of Scooby-Doo, including all the TV series, the live action movies, all the straight to video movies. I think this is peak Scooby-Doo for me because it has all the elements that we love. The characters are still kind of the archetypes of the Scooby Gang. Velma is still the one, solving the mysteries and figuring out the suspects. Fred is still kind of the airhead leader of the group. Daphne in this one isn't really the damsel in distress. She's the one that's like leading the gang together. She's the one that
Yeah,
really is like, I need to catch something real because like we need to prove ourselves as an actual detectives, as actual crime solvers, and we need a
yeah.
real monster. If we're going to be monster hunters, we need to catch a real monster. And Scooby and Shaggy are still Scooby and Shaggy, and
Hmm.
the real humor comes from those two and constantly eating throughout this movie.
Yeah.
Because every time we need a little bit of levity, there's Scooby and Shaggy eating. Like that's
Like
the
sucking
comedic
down
relief.
crawdads, or
Yeah,
eating hot peppers, or slurping down po' boys.
I want those peppers off that island.
Oh, me too. It's so funny too. Fred even eats in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
He's like scarfing beignets down, and I mean, I've been down to New Orleans. They do have the best food there, and beignets are delicious. So like I know what it's like to have your lips covered in frosting and your face stuffed with beignet. Like,
Yeah, I was gonna say the Shaggy and Scooby are rubbing off on Fred in this movie.
yeah, he was in the back of the
I was
mystery
gonna say
machine with them beforehand.
he's getting a little contact high. Yeah, so like also we briefly touched on the voodoo dolls. There's a voodoo aspect to this movie too, like 2002 Scooby-Doo. More so in this one where there's actual voodoo dolls of Fred, Daphne, and Velma, using like pieces of their clothing and stuff. And like you said, there's a point where, and again, it's comedic too, that Scooby and Shaggy are running from the zombies and the werewolves, werecats, and they keep running over the Scooby Gang's voodoo dolls
Yeah,
and bringing them closer to the fire, and the rest of the Scooby Gang starts to melt. Like you see their skin
yeah.
starting to like crinkle and melt, and it's terrifying.
It's
It's unnerving.
disturbing.
Yeah.
It's so disturbing. It's like House of Wax levels of disturbing, like the 2004 one.
Mm-hmm.
Just the kid-friendly version of Jared Padalecki's face getting peeled off. Yeah, and one of the best things I love when movies incorporate that the villain's downfall is always that they underestimate Shaggy and Scooby.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed, like the second live action movie with Lillard. I think that one does a tremendous job with that kind of plot thread. And I think they do it here too, to a lesser extent, where, Lena even says, like, those two numbskulls, we didn't even make voodoo dolls for them. Waste of time and magic wax. And then they come in and they screw the whole thing up.
Yeah.
they're
And
the
again,
they're the reason everything
yeah,
happens.
they're the reason everything happens. And I guess Velma sort of does that too, but it doesn't feel the same.
But she couldn't have done it without them knocking the doll closer to her,
Yeah. No,
And
no,
so
no.
I
The
just,
TV
I just,
the TV show Velma,
oh
because
yeah,
Shaggy
I
is the
get what
one
you're
that
saying. Yeah,
that does it, but it doesn't feel the same because it's just
yeah.
not
It feels
Shay.
anticlimactic.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. Like when there are things that you're talking about with Velma that I don't even remember. And like I watched all of these. I was pretty invested in this show, especially in the second half. But man, there are things that you say and I'm like, oh yeah, that did happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like the show has just exited my mind. Whereas like Zombie Island after one viewing was seared into my
Yeah.
brain. Like, it's iconic. There's something that pops with it that just, you know, and not every Scooby-Doo movie has that either. Like there are definitely ones that are more just like, oh, that's a good 2.5, 3-star movie. Like, it's
Yeah.
fine. Um, yeah, but I don't know. One of my favorites, and one that I hope one day we cover on the podcast. I love Scooby-Doo and the Monster of Mexico because I was like a big Mexican food person as a kid, well, even now.
Hmm.
And man, that one just always made me hungry. I remember like so many microwave burritos being made while watching that movie. Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. And again, this movie does a great job of that too. And again, incorporating New
Hmm.
Orleans food into it, like we said.
Yeah.
And
That
again,
giant po' boy, like, I mean, obviously it's an exaggeration, but those po' boys down there are huge. Like, they're massive sandwiches. I got one and it lasted like, I had a huge metabolism like when I was that young and down there. It it lasted me 3 meals. Those po' boys are huge. We should go down to New Orleans sometime for this, whenever we, get money. and and we should do like a real life ghosts or hauntings of New Orleans because there's stuff down there
oh,
all over.
that
It'd be so much fun.
that's a city that is on my bucket list to visit.
Yeah,
I think it'd be so cool to go to New Orleans. And I think this movie does a great job of capturing that in it too. More
yeah.
I would love to see Scooby-Doo return to New Orleans in another movie. Speaking of returning though, have you ever seen Return to Zombie Island?
Yeah, it's grown on me.
Okay.
The first time I watched it, I did not like it at all. I was like, this just isn't good. It's just replaying the hits. Second time I watched it, I was like, you know what? This wasn't half bad. I think I ended up giving it like 3 stars or something like that. Um,
I have never watched it. I might watch it just because I've watched this original one recently. I haven't heard great things about it though. And maybe it's
it's
just
fine.
yeah, and that's what I've
It's
heard.
just
It's kind of weird
it's
that they're
not,
cashing in on Zombie Island. I don't know, and not
and that's
doing it
kind of
right.
what it feels like. Is it's more of a, we're making this movie to kind of press your nostalgia buttons, but there's not much more to it than
Yeah.
that. Um, this isn't a good comparison for you because you actually like this movie, but it's kind of the Force Awakens of the direct to video Scooby movies. I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's good, but I could just watch the original,
Okay.
you know?
I don't because Force Awakens rules. Yeah,
Agree to disagree.
Scooby Doo on Zombie Island. The A New Hope to the Scooby Doo franchise, I guess. Yeah, this is a 5-star again. 2 5-star movies on here. This is
Yeah.
incredible. Like I said, I think this is my peak of Scooby Doo. I think it just doesn't get better than this. It has everything I ever want in Scooby Doo. Has all the characters are correct, has a great mystery that unfolds throughout it, has Scooby and Shaggy eating the entire time. um yeah, incredible soundtrack, tons of great songs in it, and again kind of
Adrian Barbeau with a New Orleans
with a
accent.
New Orleans accent. Mark Hamill's in it, hunting gators. Yeah, this movie rules. Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, 5 stars. And like you said, I didn't touch on it a lot, but there is definitely a, if not Fulci, an Italian influence on this movie,
Oh
between the
yeah.
zombies, the gators, um ghost pirates. Like there's a lot of this. Even how the zombies come out of the ground feels very Fulci zombie. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, if you're listening to Screams from the Basement as a straight up horror fan and not a Scooby Doo fan first, I think both of us are like, yeah, this is the Scooby Doo thing to jump into.
Oh yeah. I agree. I think like as far as personal favorites, Witch's Ghost edges this
It's
one out
great,
just
yeah.
barely. Um, but if I were to start someone on Scooby Doo, someone who had never seen a Scooby Doo thing before, I think I'd show them this movie.
Mm.
I really do. Like it's Zombie Island is perfect.
Yeah.
It's the best gateway horror I think we've ever gotten.
Mm-hmm.
And it upsets me that because it's direct to video, we couldn't put it on a 90s list.
Yeah. Thanks, Andy. Shout out to Andy Heller, Fat Who Digs Flex, and Blake. I guess he can get a shout out too.
Yeah. Hey, Blake.
Hey guys, guess what? A Scooby-Doo movie is making our 2000s list. Suck it.
Yes, it is. Possibly two.
All right, Sam, let's wrap this thing up. Scooby-Doo 2002 and Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island 1998. If you Scream Demons out there listening, if you've seen these, let us know. Let us know your thoughts. Do you love? Obviously, both me and Sam have made it no secret that we are massive do heads and we love Scooby-Doo.
It's
Super
the best
excited.
franchise on the planet.
Yeah, it's the best. It's something that I just want to continue forever. It's like Mickey Mouse to me. Even more like Mickey's fine. I get it. But for me, like the animated icon is Scooby-Doo. Like he's the guy. This franchise is always going to be the one that I'm like, I just want this to continue forever. And I think it can.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. You're never going to run out of stories to tell with characters. Like the nice thing about the original show is it's a very scarce blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
You can do a lot of different things with it, with the general concept of it. And I think we've gotten some really inventive takes, and I think we've gotten some not inventive takes. Yeah. And that's fine. You know, I'll take the good. I'll take the good with the bad as long as they're still good. You know,
I was just gonna say, for me, we've covered the two ends of the Scooby-Doo spectrum in this, because I think Velma is the worst thing Scooby-Doo has ever had, whereas Zombie Island and the 2002 movie are the best that this franchise has had, and we get everything in between. And that, I think that's the magic of Scooby-Doo, is we can get anything and everything in between all that. So yeah, this won't be the only time on this show we're going to talk about Scooby-Doo, that's for sure, but I think this is a great starting point for that. And thank God Velma's over and we're done talking about that goddamn show.
Yes. Yeah, I don't have much to add to that. Scooby-Doo is just the best.
Scooby-Doo rules. Sam, let's get to the plugs for this show.
Let's get to the plugs. You can subscribe.
Yeah.
Huh?
What?
Oh, sorry. What?
I was just gonna say, Sam, if I wanted to subscribe to this podcast, where could I subscribe to?
Well, Casey, you could subscribe on Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, and Anchor. Pretty much anywhere you get podcasts. Oh yeah, and we're on YouTube.
We are on YouTube.
We are on YouTube.
What if
you
I
want to see our ugly mugs as we're talking about this stuff?
Yeah, we're here. We're ugly. It happens. We've caught the ugly.
I'm ugly and I'm proud.
Look at it. Look at it. Somehow we're gonna figure out how to get SpongeBob on here. Okay, I have an idea, and we'll
slasher.
I was just gonna say we're gonna do the hash slinging slasher episode of SpongeBob and There Was Sean episode of Boy Meets World, and we're gonna do that as a double feature.
Hell yeah, that'd be cool.
Sam, if I wanted to follow us on social media, where could I do that?
Well, you could search Screams from the Basement on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I think we're just under Screams from the Basement Pod on Instagram.
Yep. And Facebook.
Our Twitter, and Facebook. And our Twitter handle, because Twitter handles are hard to come up with when you have a long podcast name, is SFTB Pod.
Thanks, Elon.
Yeah, thanks, Elon.
Well, that is it for this episode of Screams for the Basement. Again, it's going to be a long one, but you only get these every 2 weeks, so deal with it, do-heads. Leave us a comment on any of the social platforms you can, or even on Apple or Google. You can, I believe, leave comments on those too. Maybe Spotify?
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think
think so.
so.
I don't know. Anyway, you can leave us a comment. Please do so. Or if you want to shoot us an email too, send us an email at screamsfromthebasementpod@gmail.com. You can send us any questions, comments, concerns, or topics you'd like us to cover down the road. Are you excited for a hash slinging slasher episode of Screams from the Basement? Because now I am.
Yeah, no kidding.
But Sam, this is it. Should we get to our sign off?
We should get to our sign off. Are we doing the sign off together like we
Oh,
do the intro?
absolutely, we are doing this
Yes.
together. So, for
All
Screams from
right.
the Basement, I'm Casey,
And I'm Sam.
and thanks for
Thanks
tuning
for
in.
tuning in.
And
And
sweet
sweet screams.
screams.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.